lot of my quirks, my characteristics, my traits, my interests, I can trace back to specific times in my childhood. One of which being, I remember distinctly liking to play with Legos when I was a toddler, as a kid. And then as I evolved and matured, I began to play with Connects, which are kind of like a bit more complex Legos. They have more pieces that fit together, and then some of them even have motors in which you can build robots that actually move, and then you can also build roller coasters that are functioning. So I spent a lot of my time playing with these Connects, putting things together, taking them apart, and it came with a book. The book had how to build things, it had how the parts fit together, and then it had models in which you could change, or you could build, and then it had the steps to build those models. So I spent a lot of time building cars, robots, roller coasters, a lot of those things. And then after time passed, I built everything in the book, but I wasn't done playing with the Connects. I wanted to continue to play with them. So at that point, I started building things just, out of my mind. Now, they didn't look as good as the ones in the book, but I got that gratification knowing that it was something that I had manifested from my imagination and making it tangible. I think that's where I got my spirit of entrepreneurship. So fast forward a couple years later, or maybe a decade, if you will, to my senior year. I'm 18 years old. Okay, just turned 18. I'm going to get a tattoo. What is this tattoo going to be? Maybe I'll get, I'm not sure. But I thought about it. And I wanted it to be something that I knew I wouldn't regret having in the future. So I dug back into my childhood, and I remember as a kid I would imagine that my brain had wings and fly all around. I would, kind of zone out. You just kind of space out. And I remember my teachers used to tell my parents that I was a daydreamer. I mean, I got all my work done, but you could tell I wasn't there sometimes. My body was there, but my mind wasn't there. So I would use this image or, my imagination as a portal into excitement. I would visit places that I read about in books. I would visit places that I saw on Travel Channel, and I would just kind of space out when I was bored on long car rides, at church, and dare I say it, even in school. That's something else that's still pretty constant. I do that now, actually. And I imagine a lot of you all do too as college students, right? But back to the story. So I got the tattoo drawn up. I had a friend of mine draw it, and a lot of my friends really liked it. They liked the image. They was like, yeah, that's a really cool image. What does it represent? It's just something that's been with me. It represents my imagination, my creativity, my expression. So they were like, yeah, I want to get that tattoo too. And I was like, wait, no, that's not how it works. We can't all just have the same tattoo. It doesn't work like that. So instead of getting a tattoo, I decided to use that same money to invest it in some T-shirts. So the T-shirts had that symbol on it. Sold it to some of my friends. This was my senior year. We wore them around the city. Wore them to the movie theaters, wore them to the mall, all that good stuff. Then I graduated high school, and at that point I was like, okay, it's time to put that behind me. No one wants to buy T-shirts from a man-child who is fascinated with his imagination, right? But surprisingly, my friends who did graduate from high school and came to the college came to Georgia State, they actually started making friends, and they were interested in the T-shirts. So I was like, okay, well, if people are asking about them, I might as well make some more. So as time developed, as time passed, it just kind of grew. I grew, I matured, the company evolved. And then looking at the image is a brain with wings. Looking at the image, it came to me that the brain represents knowledge and the wings represent creativity and intuition. Now I'll take this back to when I had the Connects and how that affected the way that I view the world. Basically, I had the knowledge, or I obtained the knowledge by building everything in the books and understanding how everything fit together. But then using that knowledge, I was able to create things from my mind. So I think that's one of the constants that have kind of guided me through life and presented me with a lot of different opportunities, like the opportunity to speak in TED Talks. I've also had the opportunity to have a fashion show in which we headlined that brought out 400 people. And these are things that when I first started making the T-shirts, I didn't imagine that this was even possible. So what I want you all to remember is we're here to talk about change, and with change there are a lot of problems that surround change. Change is brought on by solving problems, and then there are problems when adapting to change, and then there are problems when even coming up with ways to change things. Now when you're faced with these problems, use your knowledge to assess the problem and see what's wrong, and then use your creativity to kind of come up with a creative solution. So listen to your inner child and let it guide you forward. And before I leave, I want you all to remember, as kids, we're taught that the sky is the limit. But as we grow older, we let the weight of the world hold us back. I decided I didn't want to live amongst the unhappy earth dwellers. So I sought refuge above the clouds, where the sun is always up and the stars are always shining. We're all a little different. Some say we're gifted, but call it what you want, we call it being lifted. Thank you.